Thank you, Megan, for giving me the platform and all the ambassadors, colleagues, mentors who have worked really hard on this cycle. Ambassador program was a great learning experience for me, and my basic objective to be part of it was to formulate a local policy and regulation for the routing security at national level that will be aligned with the MANRS standards. The journey started with the MANRS Observatory record. So there are around 264 ASNs for Pakistan, and out of which we divided it into three categories: the financial sector, companies who are working in like banks or service providers who are giving services to the banks, and then the telecom operators, the internet service providers, and finally the data center and the enterprises. The reason for dividing it in these three categories was because for each of these categories, there is a regulatory organization who regulates all the technology and the standards through which these sectors operate. Now, like for example, for the finance sector, there is a state bank who regulates all the IT sector in that sector, and then there's telecom operators. For that, there's PTA, and then for the data center enterprise, now there is a National Cyber Emergency Response Center. Once we gone through that, the data grouped it into these three categories. I looked for the patterns. So the story that the data was telling was that each sector had its own challenges. So like for the banking sector, I could see that the major non-compliance was in terms of the compliance with the RPKI. While digging deep into it, the root cause analysis was that State Bank already has a regulatory framework for using the public key infrastructure. So without the State Bank having comply with the RPKIs, the banks will not be able to adopt to those standards. So in that case, there is another organization, ECAC. So we had to talk with them, speak with them, and understand that where the certification authority is in terms of providing a local public key infrastructure for those services. So that was a key challenge that was identified while speaking with those stakeholders. Similarly is the case with some data centers and enterprises who are working in the public sector, but their compliance in terms of the IRR was not that much or that much, I would say, satisfactory. The reason for them was that they thought that because we are internetworking within the national borders, so we may not need to, or maybe we not require IRR to communicate with the outside networks and to connect with it. But still they had the ASN. I don't know. But still, these are the things that we came up with, and there were different trends while engaging into different stakeholders. And eventually, the final product that was part of this ambassador program that I worked with was a policy document through which the NCERT, the National Cyber Emergency Response Team, will be able to get compliance through all the stakeholders in terms of which controls are necessary. So like each stakeholder has its own different scenario, and in that scenario, maybe one control is suffice or two or three. So based on that, there is a complete study and a policy document through which NCERT can now easily ask compliance from these stakeholders. The process of compliance by the NCERT requires policy document as well as procedural documents. But other than that, it also required some tools because this thing cannot be done manually. So I'm very glad to see the work done by my colleagues in this ambassador program, which is the MANRS Plus tool and the Rovista. I think tools like this can really improve the compliance assurance step, and because once you get this compliance and you know exactly where the problem is, then we have another program of capacity building through which we can train those stakeholders into getting compliance with the necessary things. That was the overall journey that, thanks to ambassador program of the MANRS, I was able to take. And it was a great learning experience, not just for me, but all the stakeholders that were involved. And I'm looking forward to publish a blog on all of this, as well as some policy procedure documents, but that will be also shared in the public domain. One request would be that if the other ambassador colleagues who have worked on the tools such as the MANRS Plus tool and the Roaster tool, if it's open source and has a GitHub repository, that would really help, because I would recommend these tools and for the National Cyber Emergency Response Team to look at these tools, and maybe they can also pitch in and improve this effort. So that was all on my side. And once again, thank you all for the great encouraging work that you've been doing. Thank you so much.